Opinions and ideas expressed in the following Moraine Valley Broadcast Channel recording are those of its creators and do not represent the views of Moraine Valley Community College.
Hey, what's up everyone? It's Alec, and today my re-genre project will be focused on my narrative essay. It all started one fateful Sunday afternoon. My friend Mary Kate and I decided to spend the day together. The day started off with an hour-long drive to the Aurora Outlet Mall. Mary Kate had a gift card to Nike and wanted to go on an adventure to use it. After we finished at the mall, we had decided to drive around and play Pokemon Go, because this is when Pokemon Go first came out and everyone was playing it, even though doing this would mean we would be late to our church softball game, which is where things started to get interesting. We made it to the game, and it turns out we were still short players. Now, the other team had more than enough players and also had quote-unquote illegal players who were out of high school, but I'll admit so did our team. At this point, we were losing by a lot. We would stay in the field for what seemed like an eternity and would be at bat for 1 to 2 minutes at most. Then all hell broke loose. I was positioned at second base and was ready to get someone out. One of the illegal players wound up to bat. He was pretty intimidating, so I was a little nervous. Then the pitch was thrown, the batter wound up to swing, and wham, he hit the ball. I thought I would be able to jump up and catch the ball, but when I jumped, it had just skimmed my finger. But it turns out it did a lot more than skim. When I landed, something about it felt weird in my hand, but then when I looked at my finger, I found out why. My finger was sideways. I raised my hand up and screamed, "Oh my God." I started running around the field. My finger is sideways. I started to walk back to the outside of the dugout, and everyone had gathered around me. Both my coach and the other team's coach didn't know what happened, so when they walked over and saw my finger, they were quite surprised. My coach walked over, and when he saw my hand, his eyes widened. "Oh my God," my coach said. "It looks dislocated." Everyone kept telling me that I would need to relocate it, but I knew there was no amount of money that someone could give me to get it to relocate it myself. Mary Kate then suggested that we go to the hospital or call my mom to see what she wanted to do. She called my mom and said just to bring me home and we can have my dad look at it and decide what to do. So we drove back to my house and waited for my dad. Now see, I thought this whole thing was hilarious because of course the kid who doesn't normally play sports gets hurt playing a sport. And then my dad got home about 5 minutes later and he said that we should just go to the hospital. And 20 minutes later we were still at my house talking about my finger. And then my finger started to hurt. I asked my dad if we could leave now, and he said, "Sure, I just need to make your brother some lunch." Was he seriously making my brother lunch when my finger was sideways? Mary Kate started laughing and even recorded a Snapchat video for her story. She said, "Hi everyone, so we're sitting here, Alec's finger is sideways, and instead of taking him to the hospital, his dad is making his brother a sandwich," said. That's when I started to feel sick. I got super dizzy and started sweating. I think my dad took the hint that it was time to go to the hospital. We then drove to Palos Hospital and went to the ER. We checked in and they put us in a waiting room. It wasn't long until one nurse came in. He looked at my finger and said, "Well, I see what the problem seems to be. My finger was sideways, so yeah, that's kind of hard to miss." They had thought that it was dislocated, so they decided to numb it. Now, I'm totally okay with shots, but 2 of them in your finger kind of hurts. The nurse told me that he was going to give me the 6 to 8 hour anesthesia, so that was definitely a plus. They then took me for x-rays, and after the short wait, we found out that my finger wasn't dislocated at all. It was broken. It was broken in 3 spots, and the doctor that had told me it was broken also told me that I would need to go to a hand surgeon. They then let me leave the hospital, and as soon as I got home, my mom called the hand surgeon's office. But it turned out that the doctor was only in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which meant that I would have to go through the rest of Sunday and all of Monday with a sideways finger. Now fast forward to Tuesday morning, and we had walked into the hand surgeon's office, and I filled out the required papers. I got called back and met the hand surgeon. He was so intrigued by how my finger was positioned and even asked if he could take a picture to show his students. He numbed my finger and then took me to get an x-ray, and a few minutes after that he came back in. He then took my hand, counted to 3, and on 2, moved my finger back so it was straight. Now let me just say, I've never been so thankful for numbing medicine because I probably would have died if it wasn't numb. Not really, but you know what I mean. The doctor talked about what we could do to fix my finger. He said we could just put it in a cast or we could do surgery. Now, both options would take the same amount of time to heal, but he had mentioned that the surgery would have better results because they would put pins in my finger to keep my finger straight and have it heal normally. I decided to go with the surgery because I didn't want my hand to heal in a weird way. The surgery was the next day, and I was kind of nervous but also excited. It was my first time having to go under for surgery, and I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of hoping that I would have weird dreams, but sadly I did not. I got to the hospital, and the nurses checked my vitals and asked a bunch of questions and put the IV in my arm. A nurse wheeled me up to the operating room, and they had me lay on a table. She put my hand on a side table so they could operate on it. I remember them putting those sticky heart monitor things on my chest, and then I remember them putting the oxygen mask on me, and then I blacked out. I woke up very tired in recovery and looked at my hand to see that there was a new cast around my middle, ring, and pinky finger on my wrist, and also a part of my forearm. I then had to deal with only being able to use 7 fingers for an entire month. The cast wasn't so bad. Ever since I was little, I always wanted to have a broken bone, so I finally lived up my childhood dream. Although this was a small, minor event that happened while playing church softball, I learned that even when something may not seem so life-threatening, that doesn't mean it's any less dangerous than something worse than a softball game. The end.